The Planter's Bargain. Picture Gavin Hewit, a weathered tobacco farmer on the dusty fringes of Virginia's James River plantations, where the soil clings to promises like dew to a leaf. A man of calloused hands and ledgers etched with hope, Gavin tends fields that have known famine and flood, his family teetering on the edge of want. Indentured souls come and go, their terms fleeting as summer rains, leaving his crop half-harvested and his debts mounting like storm clouds. But then, a whisper from London merchants arrives, a charter of kings and companies offering a steady hand of labor for a price that seems fair. Gavin signs on the dotted line, certain that this pact will bind fortune to his furrows. He steps forward, unaware that the hand he clasps is not a flesh and blood, but something colder, more inexorable, into the invisible hand. Gavin Hewit stamped his boots twice as the sun dipped low over his 200-acre plot, the tobacco leaves wilting under another season's neglect. It was 1708, and his indentured workers, those ragtag Europeans shipped over like cattle, had scattered. One had run off after a fever. Another bought out his term with pilfered coin, leaving Gavin with barely enough hands to till the earth. His wife, Clara, tallied the debts. £50 owed to the local factor for seed and tools, another £30 for the spoiled barrels from last year's meager yield. Tobacco prices had plummeted to a halfpenny a pound, the glut from unchecked planting choking the market like vines on a fence. "We can't hold on like this," Clara said, her voice a quiet blade. "The land demands more than we can give." Word spread through the colony like smoke from a trader's pipe. The Royal African Company, chartered by the Crown in 1672, held the monopoly on slaves bound for the New World. No more chasing fickle indentures. This was labor for life, auctioned in Virginia ports for £20 to £30 a head. Strong backs from Africa's shores, traded like the very tobacco Gavin grew. The company's factors, sleek in their London wool, docked at Jamestown with bills of lading promising delivery within the month. Gavin had heard the tales. John Locke himself, the philosopher of rights and reason, sat on the company's board, penning its charters as neatly as his treatises. If men of such intellect backed it, how could it fail? Desperation carved lines deeper into Gavin's face. He borrowed against his next harvest from a Williamsburg merchant, scraping together £45 for a single prime hand, a man of middling years, sound in limb. The contract arrived on crisp parchment, sealed with the company's roaring lion, terms clear as river water. Gavin would pay £25 up front, the balance on delivery, with the slave's labor pledged to cover any shortfall through tobacco yields. "This binds us all," the factor, Mr. Hargrove, assured him at the signing, his quill dipping like a judge's gavel. "The company's monopoly ensures supply. Your fields ensure repayment. No more shortages, no more flight. The invisible hand of trade will lift you. 8% returns on the investment, same as the company's dividends to its shareholders." Gavin nodded, his signature steady. For £20 to £30, he bought not just a worker, but a future. Fields bursting with leaf, debts cleared, Clara's worry eased. The contract felt like salvation, its clauses a ladder out of the mire. The ship arrived under a harvest moon, its hull groaning with human cargo. Gavin claimed his purchase, a man named Kofi, chains rattling like loose coin as he stepped onto the wharf. No words passed between them. The factor handled the exchange, pocketing the final £20 with a nod. Gavin led Kofi to the plantation, setting him to the plow beside the remaining hands. At first, the rhythm held. Tobacco sprouted thick, indigo vining in experimental rows, Eliza Lucas Pinckney's new crop, bound for English dyes and higher prices. Gavin's ledger bloomed.
£100 projected from the season, enough to buy another hand, perhaps a woman for the household. Clara smiled for the first time in months, mending Kofi's shackles into tools. "The company was right," Gavin murmured. "This labor endures." But the hand began to twist. Word came from London. The Navigation Acts tightened, forcing all tobacco through English ports at duties that ate half the profit. Prices dipped again to a quarter penny as Virginia's overplanting flooded the market. Planters like Gavin, all chasing the same dream, glutting the warehouses. Kofi's unyielding toil yielded a crop, but it rotted in transit, seized by factors who claimed Gavin's contract allowed them first lien on the harvest for credit extensions. Debt snowballed. £10 for the company's maintenance fee, another £15 when illness felled Kofi, his value insured, but the payout clawed back as administrative costs. Gavin borrowed deeper, signing riders to the original pact, clauses buried like roots, pledging his land if yields fell short. Escapement came swift as a squall. By 1710, indentured newcomers whispered of rebellion. Kofi's eyes held a silent fire that unnerved the fields. Gavin drove harder, the contract's promise curdling into chains for them both, his own forged in ink, Kofi's in iron. A bad season struck. Drought cracked the earth, indigo withered, tobacco barely filled a hogshead. The factor returned, ledger in hand. "The monopoly protects trade, Mr. Hewit, but not fools. Your yields cover naught. The balance due is £80, plus interest at 10%. Gavin protested. The contract swore labor would suffice. Hargrove's smile was a blade. "Read the fine print, sir. The Royal African Company's charter, penned with Locke's wisdom, grants us recourse on default. Your fields, your home, collateral for the greater commerce." In the dead of night, under a sky indifferent as a ledger, Gavin watched bailiffs chain Kofi away, auctioned to a richer planter, while his own acres passed to the company's Virginia agents. Clara packed their scant belongings, her eyes hollow. The invisible hand had clasped him tight, promising prosperity, delivering only the weight of what he'd wrought. A cycle of debt and despair, where one man's bargain enslaved multitudes. Gavin Hewit sought the steady grip of commerce to save his soil, but found instead a fist that crushed without mercy. In the grand machinery of monopolies and charters, the little man's signature is but a cog, turning fortunes for kings and companies while grinding dreams to dust. The Royal African trade wove labor into ledgers, building empires on backs bent low, yet for Gavin it etched a final, unforgiving zero. A bargain struck in hope, sealed in shadow, where the market's hidden force reveals its true nature, not a guide, but a grasp from which there is no escape. Gavin Hewit toils now as an overseer on another's land, his contract a ghost in the tobacco rows.